Welcome once again to the Vantage Performance Podcast. I'm Phil Dobbie, and again I'm joined by the Executive Director and CEO of Vantage Performance, Michael Fingland, to look at the 7 essentials to creating high-performance teams. Now, Michael, a lot of these, actually, particularly the first one, seems a bit like common sense, but I guess, you know, as we've spoken about before, you can get so lost in the details. Sometimes common sense is something that's hard to come by. But making sure you've got a clear purpose, the why, how, and what, you know, sounds obvious, but easily forgotten sometimes.
Yeah, good morning, Phil. Look, it is, but, you know, it's been called many things over the years. And, you know, Simon Sinek, many of our listeners will have heard me talk about him before. You know, he talks about a very clear purpose, as he calls it, your why. Now, at the core of it, it's, you know, is the work meaningful to the employees? One of the most critical things for a high-performance team is, I mean, you spend, you know, a lot of your waking time at work and developing relationships. And at the end of the day, if your work is not meaningful, if you don't feel like you're creating some sort of positive change, then you're just going to go through the motions. And that's what this is all about. And I encourage people to go to start with why on the web and YouTube and just have a read of that video, because that's what it's all about, having something that everyone can look up to and be inspired by.
And I guess that sort of leads on to the second point, because if you don't feel like you've got meaning, if your work isn't, you know, you don't see the point in what you're doing, are you in the right job? And, you know, and perhaps not. Maybe there's something else you should be doing which is more meaningful, which means you've got to make sure when you're recruiting, you are getting people who are the right people for that role. And I guess that means people who understand what it is you're trying to achieve.
That's exactly right, Phil. And harking back to your why, if you have the right why and it's clear in your recruitment process, in your marketing, in your branding, it'll actually help you recruit the right people. Because it's very, very difficult to do something about someone who's already been hired and doesn't share the same values and beliefs that you do as a firm. So having the right why, a clear why, you'll actually act as a magnet. And so it's common sense. If you attract the right people to the business, your job as a leader or HR manager, whatever it might be, is just so much easier. And it's one of Jim Collins's big number one solutions that he talks about in Good to Great is getting the right people on the bus. In this case, you know, what it means is the right people in the right roles. Yeah. So they can perform at their best.
And how much of this is about change? Because I always feel like, you know, when I'm working well, I always like to think I'm changing things for the better. Is that? I mean, it seems fundamental. Is that? But I guess you can't change. You know, there's lots of jobs where perhaps you can't drive so much change. But we all want to have some sort of impact, don't we?
Everybody at their core, whether they want to admit it or not, wants to be part of something that's creating change. It's human nature, and that. Again, having a really clear why covers off both of those, that you know, your work will matter and that you will feel like you're part of something bigger than you are.
Right. You say the third point is psychological safety. So here's an interesting one, where you feel as though you can take risk.
Yeah, look, Google did a multi-year study, spent millions and millions of dollars to try and work out what is at the heart, what are the top key reasons why they have high-performance teams. And they... you know, I won't labour on it too much, but they spent so much time looking at all different types of combinations. They put extroverts together, introverts together, combos. They had the so-called smartest in the room working in teams. And as it turned out, and it amazed everybody in the organisation, that it was actually the so-called B performers in terms of intelligence that outshone every other combination of team. And at the heart of it, their number one thing, and 5 of their key tools are in the 7 that we talk about now. We've already talked about why. Is psychological safety, and that is, do people feel comfortable speaking, you know, up in a team meeting and putting their views across without the risk of being shot down? Sounds simple, but that was the number one of their 5. That was the biggest correlation to having a high performance team.
You've got to get the balance right on that, though, haven't you? Because you don't want people who are sort of like saying, well, I'm going to take risks, and you know, they're not calculated risks. There's got to be you've got to be an expectation that it's okay to step outside the box, but let's not go too far left field, because you know, you could be wasting the company money.
Yeah, like there's a balance, but this is not so much about taking huge amounts of risk. It was all about, in team meetings, does everyone feel comfortable contributing their view?
Right.
Where you've got half the, you know, we've all seen it. We've all worked with an extremely dominant person who just rules the whole meeting and doesn't let anyone speak. That's cancerous. So what we're talking about here is people who feel comfortable within their work environment to speak their mind, put their ideas forward. Not every idea is going to get up. I mean, that's just life. But do you feel comfortable that you can put your opinion forward without the fear of being shot down?
Yeah, that fear of, look, I'm going to look stupid, so I'll just keep my mouth shut,
Yeah.
whereas you might actually have the best idea that's going to change the company. Absolutely.
Exactly.
So what about dependability then? I guess this is very important for teamwork. Can you depend on? And actually, this is, the older I get, the more I realize just having dependable people actually is so crucial. Somebody who, because there's lots of people who, for example, will say, they'll take on board a great idea, but when it comes to operationalizing it and doing it day in, day out, for example, they become less dependable. They perhaps get bored and want to move on to the next gleaming new thing.
That's right. I mean, this is number 4 in the list, and it sounds so obvious, but so often it's not considered. I mean, can you count on your teammate to back you up to do what you need to be done? It's a very, very simple trait to have, and it's all about teamwork. And at the end of the day, a business can't move forward unless you're taking calculated risks, not reckless risk, but calculated. And you won't take risks if you can't depend on others to work with you, have your back, let you know when you're going a bit off course. It is a fundamental thing, but so easy to put in place.
But hard to spot, isn't it? Who are going to be the dependable people? When you're interviewing somebody, you can find out whether they, sort of fit the culture of your organization, whether they understand what your business is all about. But it's not until they're actually there in the business that you can find out, how dependable they're going to be. Yeah,
like you can never truly find out, how someone's going to act until they get in the job. But you can ask, other questions in the recruitment process around teamwork and demonstrate times where, you've worked well on a team or you've backed someone up, and you can be a bit, cryptic about it, but it's all about teamwork, and if someone has played lots of team sports, if they've volunteered, they're all little traits that they work well in teams and they enjoy it.
Okay. Clear roles is number 5, making sure you've got clear roles, clear plans and personal goals.
Yeah. Look, I have to say this one does my head in. We see this so many times. It really does. It is so simple to get right. Have clear roles. Every survey we do, we use the Net Promoter Score survey for employees. Right. And it always comes back. I don't know what my job role is, my job spec. I don't know how I'm measured. It is so easy. Simple one-pager to outline what you're responsible to do in your job. How am I going to be measured? How do I know if I've done a good job or a bad job? Very simple. It's such a simple tool to get put in place and have a huge impact, because people need to know where they're going. They need to know if they're doing a good job or not. At the basic human level, we all want to do a good job. So have a one-page job spec that outlines what my role is. It's incredible how many people are recruited into positions, in very senior positions, that do not have a very clear job description.
But there's a danger here, isn't there? If they're the wrong goals, if there's not been enough consultation, because I've had goals foisted on me, and I've thought, hang on a second, these are the wrong thing. I shouldn't be doing this. I feel like I should be doing something else, and I guess that means, that's not had the ability to influence what I'm supposed to be doing within the organisation.
Yeah, exactly right. It's like any bonus system. If you don't believe you can achieve it, then you're doomed from the beginning. So any sort of individual or team-wide bonus structure, monetary or not, it has to be an achievable goal. It needs to be something that you can see yourself achieving. So it has to be consultative, and the onus is upon you as an employee. If you've been given a job description which has far too much in it for you to cope with, or the KPIs that you're going to be measured against are not fair, it's the onus upon you to speak up. Otherwise, you're going to have it by default. So there is responsibility both ways.
Which sort of brings us on to the 6th point, which is making sure you've got communication, and that means communication up, down, sideways, every which way. Every
single client we go into, this is always an issue, and I understand why management teams, particularly in distress, because it's often a chemical issue. When you've got lots of cortisol, lots of stress hormones pumping through the body, you actually become less empathetic and you become insular.
Right. And a bit of the blame game comes out as well.
Yes. So you stop, you become fearful as well. So it's natural, not natural, but it's the obvious of open communication, right? So, but just some simple tools: a monthly newsletter, a weekly blast out, keep, in a really large organization, have a committee that is responsible for disseminating, really important information from the exec team down to the shop floor. Some really simple tools, but open, transparent, and regular. Just be consistent. even if it's just once a month or once every 2 months, just be consistent with your communication. And again, you don't need to spend a fortune on this. Very simple. There's so many apps out now where you can reach everybody in the entire workforce via a text message. And there's Yammer, there's a whole bunch of them out there. Just keep that communication flowing. Let people know how the business is going, where we're heading, any significant good news, employee of the month kind of things. Just keep that information flowing, and you'll be amazed how much of an impact it has.
Right, but how do you do that in a way that it doesn't look like the latest edition of Pravda? This is what you need to know, rather than how do you make it a bit more truthful and honest and transparent, I guess?
Oh, you just have to be authentic. Just don't talk in riddles. Don't just be upfront with people. It's why I'm asking that, because there's a lot of that goes on, isn't there? Yeah, look, and but
be genuine.
But be genuine. I mean, we say that, and you say it quickly, and it sounds like it's easy, but you'll know if your communication's going out there on a regular basis, and you're not being authentic or genuine. Your staff are going to tell you through various channels. So there's ways of making sure that it's coming across in the right way. But at its heart, when you're writing the information or you're talking to people, often ask yourself, am I being genuine? Am I being authentic?
Okay. And finally, making sure you've got the right tools for the job.
Yeah, again, a really simple one, but so many situations we come into where, say in an office environment, they're working on 10-year-old computers or the tools in the workshop, needed replacing 3 years ago. Simple little things. Productivity is so critical in a business, no matter what sort of business you're running. But making sure people have got the right tools for the job. If they're working with busted old equipment, they're going to take that behaviour into their role. So, and I'm not saying you have to go out and buy Rolls-Royce tools and all the rest of it and have the best computers, but just make sure that what they've got is fit for purpose. Because if they want to do a good job, right? As I said at the beginning, people inherently want to do a good job. People are good people, and they want to make a difference. So if you're working with substandard kit, it just fights against it. So get out of their way. Give them the tools they need. Yeah. Give them the training they need. Get out of their way and just let them do a good job. Get out of the way.
I got on a bus the other day, and the bus driver had a big broad grin on his face, and I said, you're smiling a lot today, and he said, yeah, well, look at this bus. And he had the brand new state of the art bus, and he was happy to be driving it, and then went into great detail about all the specifications and what was so marvelous about it. So there's a case in point.
Oh, look, I did this job, and it would have been 15 years ago, a turnaround of a fairly large trucking company. And most of the fleet were Kenworth trucks. And I've never seen anything like it since. Every driver had that much pride in their Kenny that they washed it themselves. They would wash it on the weekends in their own time. And a Kenworth truck, it's not like a little Subaru. It takes you half an hour. They would go out of their way to maintain the interior and the exterior of their truck, because it was a Kenworth and they had pride in what they were driving, because they had the right tools for the job. Yeah,
absolutely. And that all gets back to that first point, really, about making sure that you're feeling involved and that you're part of something and striving for that change. That's all great. 7 great pieces of advice. Thanks so much, Michael.
Cheers, Phil.
You can read book after book on this sort of stuff, can't you? But Michael explains it all so well in 10 minutes or so. That is the beauty of the Vantage Performance podcast, even if we do say so ourselves. That was Michael Fingland. I'm Phil Dobbie. We'll catch you again soon. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you next time.